Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bubbler Banter on the Brew Sports Network, the show where we spout off about Wisconsin sports. I'm Josh Scheibe, and while my regular co-host Ian DeMars is down in Florida on vacation, I'm joined here in the studio by Ryan Thies. Welcome to the show, Ryan. Thanks
Hello.
for being here today.
Yeah.
Care to tell our viewers a little bit, who might not be as familiar with you, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm Ryan Thies. I co-host the College Road Trip with Barry Nelson on Wednesday nights. We actually had a huge show last night going over March Madness, kind of a big deal around this time, starting today. So today is like my Christmas. It is the beginning of all-day basketball, starting at 11 a.m. local time here, going all through about 11 p.m. So 12 hours, meaningful college basketball, might I add.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you here on the show. And Ian has graciously agreed to call in from sunny Florida for a brief time to comment a bit on our first couple of segments. How's it going, Ian? I see you've had some success fishing down there.
Yeah, I got a 25-pound permit yesterday, so that was
nice.
One of the biggest fish I've caught in the past 10 years, so that was pretty nice.
Well,
and,
great.
Thanks again, Ryan, for filling in for me this week.
Yeah, not a problem.
Well, we're glad to have you here, at least for the first couple of segments, Ian. While it might be a little early to say that these are some of Bango's best, the Milwaukee Bucks are beginning to make a case for it. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. They're now 33-34 on the season, 7th overall in the Eastern Conference. And while they lost in a big way to Memphis on Monday, 113-93, a game like that is seeming more and more like a fluke. You know, they had an exciting 97-96 win last night against the Clippers as Matthew Dellavedova and Greg Monroe, they crowded out Blake Griffin enough for him to miss his final shot. So what do you guys think of the Bucks right now? Ian, let's start with you. Any players in particular who draw your attention right now?
First off, I want to say the Bucks, if you haven't noticed, they actually have the best record in the Eastern Conference in their past 15 games. They're gone 11-4 in those 15 games, and like you said before, they've won 7 out of 8. And I like what the Bucks have done recently by moving Matthew Dellavedova back to the bench. I feel like that's more of the role he wants to play just because he gives you that quick spark right away. Malcolm Brogdon is playing great this year and deserves to be starting for the Bucks. And Greg Monroe has adapted to that bench role really well and is definitely I would say he's definitely top 5 in my opinion. If the Bucks make the playoffs, he's a top 5 6th man of the year candidate.
All right, Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like the way the Bucks are playing right now, especially without Jabari Parker. That was a big loss for them, but they got Chris Middleton back. He's playing very well. Tony Snell as well. He is impressing everyone as they just keep rolling here. And I think it's going to be a very good thing if they make the playoffs, just either as the 7 or the 8. You'd rather be the 7th seed so you don't have to face the Cavs right away, right off the bat. But any playoffs right now is a step in the right direction as they're going for the future here. But I just really like the way they've been playing basketball lately. If they can just keep this string going along for the remainder of the regular season, they'll be in very good shape.
Yeah, and it looks like I know we all are hoping that the Bucks make the playoffs, but they do have a really tough stretch to end the season. Now, when I was watching the game last night, ESPN was saying how I believe 11 of their last 16 games are actually on the road. So that'll be a tough stretch. I know this weekend, I think they play the Warriors. That'll definitely be a tough game. I know they have to go to Boston a couple of times. They still have to go to LA, see the Lakers, the Kings, and the Trailblazers on their road trip. So it'll definitely be a tough stretch to end the year, but if they can manage to go 500 on the road the rest of the year and try and get the rest of their home wins under them, I feel like they'll definitely hopefully get that 7th seed, maybe even climb up to that 6th seed in the East.
So this is one of these young teams that's really, really good. Do you think this might be one of the best young teams in the league, Ian?
I definitely agree that they would be one of the best young teams in the league. They're no longer the youngest team in the league.
Right.
I was watching the Trailblazers game before, and they actually are the youngest team now, surpassing the Bucks. with some of the moves that they made. But with the way they're playing right now, you look at their starting lineup, they're starting 2 rookies in the lineup. So just by that means that they do have a very special team, and when they're healthy, they're going to be very dangerous, I believe, in the next year or two.
Yeah, it's got to be the best younger teams in the NBA right now. The way that they're just all meshing together. Giannis, of course, doing what he does every game. Something I also want to note about last night's game, they won without anyone scoring more than 16 points. And so it was something, a full team effort. Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, and if you look at the plus minus for them, all their starters had minuses except for Chris Middleton. And then everyone on their bench had pluses. So for them to win a game on the road with 4 of your starters having minuses, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. And, you gotta kind of wonder, moving forward here, are these guys going to be happy sticking around in Milwaukee? It's an exciting place right now with the new stadium being built and with this new young team coming in. Obviously, Giannis seems to be particularly happy here. He doesn't seem like he wants to leave anytime soon. But do you guys think that maybe he or any of the others might not want to stick around?
They've bought in so far with the coaching of Jason Kidd and the team as a whole. And I think it's just a future thing. If the part of buying into this system right now is being on the team for quite some time to get the full rewards of the Bucks right now. You can't promise them that they're going to win the finals this season or maybe even the next season, but they're going to get better every season. Got a brand new arena coming up, but much better team coming up as well. So I think that is a recipe for keeping players around. I mean, you can't keep everyone around. That's just not how it works. But they're going to keep probably most people.
Ian, what are your
I
thoughts?
would have to agree with that. I would have to agree with Ryan on that one. I mean, if they thought that if some of their bigger pieces didn't think that was going to work out, they would have traded Greg Monroe by now. There were rumors that he was going to get traded last offseason, and he didn't. There were rumors at the start of the season when they weren't really playing that well that he was going to get traded, and yet he didn't. So I feel like that he's starting to realize that, hey, I can be that power guy off the bench. I can give them that spark, and I feel like everyone else is starting to adapt to their roles. Even when Tony Snell, I feel like next year when Jabari gets healthy, that Snell's going to move possibly to a bench role, even Middleton. But I feel like that when whoever does get moved to the bench at some point next year, they're going to adapt really well, especially you look at Snell, a great defender. He's shooting over 40% from 3 this year. And even Middleton, if he goes to the bench, he could definitely be one of the favorites to win Sixth Man of the Year.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Ian. Let's move on a little bit into our Packers segment here. Over the past couple of weeks, we've seen quite a few of now former Green Bay players packing their bags. Eddie Lacy has now gone to Seattle. TJ Lang has moved on as well. Are you guys frustrated at all with what we're seeing here of these veteran free agents not being signed again by Ted Thompson and the Packers?
I feel like frustrated is not a harsh enough word, but yeah, I mean, when you lose some of your better players, it's definitely going to hurt. I thought Lacy for sure wasn't going to leave, and then when I saw that he went to Seattle, it definitely shocked me, especially when Seattle said that they would be okay if he got back up to the 240, 250 range because they want him to be more of a power back. And then you look at TJ Lang. It hurts when you lose someone that plays really well for you, but when you lose him to a division rival, that's even worse. So those were definitely 2 hard losses. I did hear that they do plan on bringing back Devon House, Devon House. So
yeah, I think they just re-signed him.
I feel like that's a good signing. Mm-hmm. I feel like that'll be a good re-signing. He can help mentor those young corners. And I'm not sure if we talked about it before, but Martellus Bennett, I feel like that's an upgrade from Jared Cook, in my opinion, a guy who can catch the ball, block for the running backs. So I feel like they are losing some key pieces, but Ted Thompson is starting to go out there and try to sign some bigger guys. And when you lose we saw that Eddie Lacy going to Seattle, and you look at Minnesota, they filled their running back spot by signing agreeing to a deal with Latavius Murray that I saw this morning. So it's definitely possible now that Adrian Peterson could be in play for the Packers.
That is possible. Do you think that this opens up a better option for him to come to Green Bay? Personally, I'm pulling for LeGarrette Blount to come to Green Bay. I think he'd be a great fit for their system.
Yeah, I feel like either one of those guys would be a great fit. You could look at Doug Martin also as an example. I feel like if they could sign one of those three guys to be their running back, it would be beneficial for the Packers since they've had some issues at running back with either consistency or health the past few years. And once they get someone who can play at least 14, 15 games, get you over 1,100, 1,200 yards, get you touchdowns, help put the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers. That's definitely something they need. And getting a Peterson, Blunt, or a Doug Martin, in my opinion, would be the best thing for the Packers. Now, they have a lot of other things that they need to look at still, but they need to – because I like that they moved Montgomery to running back, but I don't think he's the long-term answer.
No, I think he would be part of a 1-2 punch situation. I don't think he can stay there on his own. So
Ryan, what were you thinking about it?
I'm not the best on the Packers kind of news, but it opens up a hole. You lose Eddie Lacy, and you got to fill that hole, whether it's LeGarrette Blount or Adrian Peterson or someone beyond that. There's still a hole you got to fill.
So who do you think? I know because we lost, or the Packers lost T.J. Lang and J.C. Treader. Treader's a little easier to replace because Corey Linsley came in last season after Treader got hurt. Lang, though, he was a pretty integral part of that line. Do you think that there's anybody on the horizon who might be able to take his place?
Well, I know last year we saw some of Jason Spriggs, I believe, come in. He was more of that sixth guy that came in on the line. Now, he's usually traditionally a tackle, so I'm not sure if they would maybe transition him to guard or if maybe they try signing someone or maybe drafting someone to possibly fill that spot. But I think that if he's willing to maybe switch over to that guard spot, that'd definitely be something to help out the Packers because I know when he did play last year, he wasn't – when you knew he was coming into the game, the Packers didn't really fall back in the O-line. They definitely were able to stay in put when he came into the game.
And, people give Aaron Rodgers a lot of much-deserved credit for the way that he played last season, but people don't remember that he's not the only one out on the field. He needs help, both from his line and from his receivers and his running backs. And this seems like they're trying... It seems like they almost want Aaron Rodgers to do more with less than he had last year, which it seems difficult to even have less than last year in terms of the offense.
Yeah.
So it's a little frustrating as a fan as well, just seeing a lot of these veteran players going elsewhere. I mean, good for them. And here's the thing: it's like any job in a way. It's like any contract. I don't think it's good to expect any sort of loyalty necessarily just because you played for a certain team. I don't think that a team needs to have loyalty to a player necessarily once the contract has run out. That's just my personal thought on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a tough situation, but I feel like it's tough for them when you see someone leave, but if they're getting good money, and the Packers aren't willing to give it to them, then I'm kind of happy that they're getting the money that they deserve. I mean, I look at when Kevin Zeitler became a free agent, I'm like, that if they lose Lang, that'd be the guy I would want to go for. But you look at he ends up signing with Cleveland, and you seem like, why would you go to Cleveland? But he's getting good money,
right?
Then you can't really blame the guy.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's like any other job, if you get a better offer, then why not go there? So what do you think the Packers do? Jeff asks on Facebook here, what do the Packers do to fix their defense? Obviously, they've got to bring in some cornerbacks that are going to help shore up the secondary.
Yeah.
What else do you think they can do?
Well, we did see that, I believe, Dayton Jones, from what I saw yesterday, agreed to go to Minnesota, so that would be another loss. So I feel like trying to maybe get – I know they're kind of young at the linebacker position, so maybe trying to either fill a spot at linebacker or to get another pass rusher. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it doesn't have to be a superstar, but I feel like they need to just get another veteran presence to fill one of those spots. Mm-hmm. It was a good thing that they did get House to come back, so that's definitely a good veteran to corner position, but I feel like either linebacker or a pass rusher they need to try to attract within the next couple of weeks. And then once you get that, if Adrian Peterson or LeGarrette Blount's still available, then make a hard push for those guys.
Sure. Yeah, it seems like they really need somebody to help Clay Matthews out, especially in the pass rush. And now with Julius Peppers going elsewhere as well, it seems like he's going to need some help, Clay Matthews. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Ian, for being here on the show today. Enjoy sunny Florida. Please bring some of that weather back to Wisconsin with you. Enjoy fishing while we enjoy shoveling.
I'll try, Josh. Before you let me go, I do want to, since it is March Madness and it officially starts today, I do want to let the viewers know who I picked for my Final Four.
Oh, please do.
I picked Duke. To win their region. The only one seed I have is the one that people think is going to lose first, in Gonzaga making the Final Four. I believe this is the year they finally get there. Then I have one of the hottest teams in the country, one of my favorite teams in Michigan, making it as a 7 seed to the Final Four. And then we all know the story of the Ball family. I believe that they get there in their region. And then my finals pick, I like Duke to defeat UCLA, because people had Duke at the beginning of the year. They were struggling. They're playing the right type of basketball now, and I feel like that they are the best team now in college basketball and will get that championship.
So you're all about the trendy picks, about how they're playing in the conference tournaments, huh?
Yes, I feel like that if you're playing hot, like when you get to that tournament, you're going to be playing especially well. Look at USC yesterday. They played well in their tournament. They almost beat UCLA in the tournament, and they were down 17 points yesterday, and they came back to win that game. So I feel like if you're playing hot coming in, that you're going to keep playing well. I know last year Michigan State, they were playing hot, and then they lost their first game. But I feel like this year the teams that are playing hot at the right time are going to play well in the tournaments.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Ian. Have a good vacation.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, well, let's move on into our next segment. The Brewers lost last night to the Rockies 4-5, giving up 2 runs in the ninth that sealed the deal for Colorado. But they held their own against the Cubs the night before in a 7-7 tie. And we can't forget to talk about the Brew Crew blowout. They whipped the Mariners 24-3 in the most one-sided game I've heard of since I played chess against myself in grade school. Ryan, we've seen some interesting games for the Brewers so far in spring training. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy in too much about spring training scores per se, more just individual performances, how hitters are seeing different pitchers in the early innings. Because once you get to later innings, it's more of the deeper minor league guys that might have a chance to come up in, say, September. But it's still nice to put up 24 runs. There's a 10-run inning that actually kind of broke the scoreboard in Maryville because the inning column only is enough for a single digit, so it just showed as a 1, but it was actually 10 runs that inning. But Travis Shaw homered again. Neuenhuis homered in that game as well. All the bats were just really hot that day, and it's a good feel-good thing too. It's you go home back to your spring training home feeling good, you're positive about the season, and that's what the Brewers kind of need here. They need every positive feeling they can get going into this season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of this they can carry over into the upcoming season.
Yeah, one thing I like to point out too is Travis Shaw. He's having a great spring. Currently he's hitting .310. He's got 2 homers. One was in that 24-run game, 6 RBIs, and stole a base. He's really kind of putting out his best campaign to be the starting third baseman here on opening day for the Brewers.
So any other standouts?
Of always, Arcia. Orlando Arcia is doing a great job, as expected, and he's going to be in the infield wherever they put him in the middle infield. But Kirk Neuenhuis as well. He's been decent. The catcher is the big question mark so far.
Yeah.
Don't really know who it's going to be. It's just a big enigma right now. And starting pitching too. Who's going to be the opening day starter? Do you think?
Oh, I don't even know.
Exactly.
I don't even know. I mean, it's anybody they have right now could do it. I think
1 through 5 could be the opening day start. It's a very fluid throughout there.
Do you have any predictions of who might start as pitcher or who might start as catcher? I know this is a conversation that's it's very nebulous
hard
right now. Yeah.
You could throw out any name for the pitcher. I wouldn't even be surprised if they said Zach Davies starts for opening day. That's how wide open it is right now. But I don't think you go deeper in there. Chase Anderson, I don't think he's good enough to be that. He's more of a 4-5 starting pitcher here for the Brewers. But it's going to be a very interesting season. I think we can all agree on that. Very low expectations. I think Vegas has them around 69, 70 wins on the year. I think, being positive, I think they're going to surpass that, but they really haven't proven anything so far. There's just a lot of question marks out there.
Well, let me see here. I had a link here. Okay. Well, it seems to have disappeared, so I'm just going to skip that.
That's how it works.
Yeah, it seems to have disappeared here. Sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties. But
it
anyway.
happens.
So let's just move on then, since I don't have that one anymore. Let's see. We do have some other... All right, we've got a question from Jeff here. How much will it hurt the pitching staff not knowing the starting catcher?
Right now, not as much, because in spring training, they are throwing to almost every single catcher throughout the organization. There's so many bullpen sessions going on right now, along with different games, split squad games. Not everyone is together. So they're kind of mixing it up right now, feeling it out, who they like. And that could be very beneficial to the pitchers and the catchers alike. But I don't think it means too much against these pitchers. It's more of an in-season thing where they really build that pitcher-catcher relationship, especially when you travel long distances on the road, usually room close together, spend a lot of time together. That's when those relationships are born.
All right. Well, then let's move on into our March Madness segment. It has truly been madness in Madison and Milwaukee, as the Badgers have been listed as a number 8 seed, much lower than just about any of the hometown folks were thinking, and the Marquette Golden Eagles are number 10. People have been pretty angry about the Badgers in particular, especially considering that they beat Minnesota twice already, pretty handily. Do you think they deserved a higher seed, Ryan?
I don't think they deserve that high, but I understand the selection committee's thought process for the 8 seed. Because if you look at how they looked in February, it wasn't good, and that's when majority of the research the selection committee does. They don't just all of a sudden pick 68 teams on Selection Sunday at the conclusion of the Big Ten tournament. That's not how it works. It's a long process that they go through, and majority of that process is through February, and that is the Wisconsin team they saw at that current point. And they felt like Wisconsin was kind of on the downslope. Minnesota started to get a little hot in February, too, so that's why they got the 5 seed. And there's the argument out there, too, that they're the Big Ten. Wisconsin was the Big Ten runner-up, and they shouldn't be the 8 seed. But they lost to the 8 seed of the Big Ten tournament, Michigan, in that championship game. So if you want to argue about them being runner-up, they still lost to a 8 seed Michigan team.
Yeah, I think coming into February, the Badgers were 21-3, and they went to 25-9.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Minnesota, I think, was 15-7, and they went 24-9. So clearly,
exactly,
things that's a very clear reason why the Badgers would have been seeded lower than Minnesota.
If Wisconsin would have had their February, say back in November, through their non-conference schedule,
right,
had a slower start, and then started to heat up in February, they'd be a higher seed.
And do you think that records in terms of teams going head-to-head actually matter when it comes to selection committee?
It's situational. It's about when it happens and where it happens. Home court, score matters as well. But it's just, you can see there's a lot of changes that college basketball teams go throughout a season, as Wisconsin has just rightfully proved that the February Wisconsin team is different than the January and December Wisconsin team. It's a different team playing against a different Minnesota team too.
Right.
And so they got to kind of put a little bit of stock into that, how they play at certain times, and then the home court advantage, even though Wisconsin beat Minnesota twice. I think when they seed it, it's not going head to head. Oh, because this team beat this team twice, they should be ahead. They just go based off of record. Doesn't matter who it was up against the other seeds. They just seed it 1 through 68.
Do you think strength of schedule was a big factor too?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten, you can argue it was kind of an off year for them. They didn't have as big talent-wise as, say, Michigan State has been, or any other team. Purdue was the regular season champion. That hasn't happened in a while, and it maybe wasn't the best Purdue team that we've seen in quite some time. Iowa had another off year, even though they snuck in. No, they didn't get into the tournament, but just the Big Ten overall this year, not as good as they used to be. ACC has really dominated, and that's why they got 9 teams in there.
So how far do you think the Badgers are going to go?
I think they go round of 32.
Yeah?
And then get bounced by Villanova.
Okay.
So being an 8-9 seed is really tough, because even if you have a tough game to start out, because you're playing only 1 seed away from you, and then if you win, you play the number 1 seed. And in this case, it's the number 1 overall seed in Villanova, who's only lost 3 games.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough game. Now let's move on a bit to the Golden Eagles. Do you think they deserve their seat?
Yeah, I think so.
There hasn't been as much uproar regarding that one, because I think people generally consider that one to be pretty much what they...
10 or 11 would have been par for the course for Marquette. They had a very bad closing argument against Seton Hall in the Big East tournament. Just didn't look good at all. They've had some bad losses, but also some big wins. They've beat Creighton twice, beat Xavier. They got Butler at home one time as well. And then, of course, Villanova. That was a big win. So it's really dependent on what Marquette team is going to show up tomorrow. Whether they live and die by the three-pointer, and that is a very dangerous game to play. It's a lot of fun, score a lot of points, but their defense is just way up in the air. There's nothing solid there yet. South Carolina, they have a solid defense, and they're going to be focusing on the perimeter defense because they know Marquette lives and dies by the three. So it's a tough matchup for Marquette, but I think they win it by 2 points.
Okay. And if they do show up tomorrow, and if they do win tomorrow, how far do you think they'll go?
Round of 32 again.
Same?
Then they get bounced, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. That's kind of what I'm figuring, at least for Marquette. I don't know about the Badgers. I'd like to think they could go a little farther.
You'd like to think that, but one, it's Villanova.
Right.
And two, it's not that short of a memory of the February Badgers and how they looked.
Very true.
And a lot of those games were at home, too. And that was a tough pill to swallow there for Wisconsin. But I just can't bring myself to pick them over the number 1 overall seed. I feel like I'm pushing it by picking him over Virginia Tech even.
Yeah, that's going to be the big bump in the road, as it were, to get over if they're going to get anywhere, I think.
But it'll be nice. Last hurrah here for Nigel Hayes and Bronson Koenig. Mm-hmm. They've been a very integral part of Wisconsin. But I think just last year was the last run they were going to have as a group, with Koenig hitting that buzzer beater against Xavier. I think Badger fans might want to hang on to those memories this season. I really don't think Badgers are going to go that far.
All right. Well, let's see here then. We're going to move on into our next segment then. It looks like a Steelers player might be the belle of the ball in Waukesha, after Ava Tirantino, a student at Waukesha West High School, tweeted at Le'Veon Bell asking him to be her prom date if she got 500 retweets. Bell upped the ante, saying for 600 retweets, he'd do it. And, well, Tarantino got more than 3 times that. She got over 1,800 retweets, and I think it's still counting now. So Bell basically said, well, a deal's a deal, and now it's just a matter of getting permission from the school for it to happen. So what do you think about that, Ryan? Did you hear about this at all?
I didn't until just now, but it's kind of a popular thing that people have been doing. High schoolers. Mm-hmm. It's mostly been guys asking, say, Kate Upton to prom, a certain number of retweets. But it's a good story to get the prom date hookup here locally.
And I think that from what I was reading, Waukesha West has the school district has an age limit of 19 for prom guests, mm-hmm. which is obviously understandable. Right. They said that they're reviewing the request before they make a decision. They might make an exception, though.
They've got to.
This rule's been in place for decades, they said, with no exceptions.
It's not some rando coming off of the street.
Right.
It's someone who actually has a reputation that they're trying to hold on to. Right. They're not going to ruin it at a prom in Wisconsin.
That would be the hope, yeah. And Bell said that he plans to bring his mom to the dance, as well as his girlfriend, and Ava said that she's going to be doing her makeup. So that'll be kind of cool.
But the school has to let this happen. If they say no to this, there's going to be more bad press and towards the school. It's just a very win-win situation for everyone. If they say, yes, we're going to make an exception here, we can allow this NFL football star to attend our prom. That's going to get a lot of exposure to the school, feel-good story for this girl, and just all-around good stuff going on. It'd be very disappointing if they said no. Yeah,
it would be. It would, and like you said, this is becoming a more and more common thing, especially with the rise of Twitter and social media in general. It's been a very interesting thing seeing this happen more and more. So it'd be interesting to see it come to Waukesha.
It's how the world is now, I guess.
I don't know that anything in like this has happened in Wisconsin. I'm not entirely sure on that. I'd have to check again.
I'm sure people have tried, but not had the success of this case.
Well, sorry. I'm still pulling up my link. Sorry about this.
No, It's good to have, and it's kind of, these stories are kind of funny. I remember there was one when I was in high school. I grew up in Arizona, so a Scottsdale kid actually made this whole entire video asking Kate Upton to prom. This was back in
I remember
2012 or 30, I can't remember, but it was a very well done video. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't over like retweets or a certain amount or goal. It was just the video, and she said yes, but I think there was something logistically with her that she had prior engagements that day.
Well, any final thoughts before we wrap up today, Ryan?
Well, I'm excited to see the tournament games here in Milwaukee. I'm actually heading over there right after this. Got a long day, 2 sessions. I'm excited to see Purdue and Vermont. I think the Catamounts have a little bit better chance than people think against Purdue, but I still think Purdue is going to win that one. Butler here is in town again, but it'll just be nice seeing all the people from around the country coming to Milwaukee, going to the Bradley Center, catching some good basketball. I went to the practices yesterday, saw Minnesota, and a lot of people in Gopher gear, a lot of people traveling. Saw some Vermont gear as well. Nice to see them traveling out here. Put the city on the map on Showcase here. We got the stage going. See how gracious of hosts we can be.
All right. And we do actually have a comment from Kurt here on Facebook regarding the Le'Veon Bell story. He says, it's an interesting idea to have him there, but you can hear the rest of the student body not being happy if it's all about him and not their prom.
I feel like it's hard to be upset that there's an NFL player at your prom. I don't think he's...
Unless you're not a big NFL person. You know,
it's still a celebrity. I mean, there could be a
Sure.
movie star, and I mean, I'm not a big movie person. I think
That's true.
Okay, and then just keep to myself. But I'm sure he has a sense of responsibility that he's not going to take over it's not the Le'Veon Bell prom.
Right.
It's the Waukesha East prom, and he's got to know that at some level, and then it'll just be a fun time for everyone. It'll be nice. Oh, Le'Veon Bell over there dancing around. I dance with Le'Veon Bell. That's something they could say. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just going to be overall fun for everyone.
All right. Well, thanks very much for being
not a
here,
problem.
Ryan.
Glad to be here.
We appreciated having you as my co-host today. You can find us coming up... Sorry about that. You can find us here next week on Thursday, again, for more Bubbler Banter. You can also go to brewsportsnet.com. That'll show you all the shows that we have. You can find it on iTunes as a podcast as well. Thank you all so much for watching. You can find it on the YouTube channel. This has been Bubbler Banter on the Brew Sports Network. I'm Josh Scheibe. He's Ryan Thies. Thanks very much. Have a good rest of your day.